Welcome to Art Adventures with the Walters Art Museum. We're going to be talking about different artworks from our collections, learning about them, and at the end of the video you'll get to make your own artwork. My name's Elizabeth, and today we're talking about hats, headdresses, crowns, and helmets. All of these things have something in common. You wear them on your head. But what are the differences? Let's start with hats. There's a lot of variety in the size and shape and color and style of hat, but generally hats serve some kind of functional purpose. They're good for shading your face from the sun, they're good for keeping your head warm in the winter, and sometimes they can even tell people what your job is. Let's look at some hats from our collection. This fashionable lady is from Greece, a sunny country that borders the Mediterranean Sea. This statue was made 2,400 years ago. Why do you think her hat has such a broad brim? Probably to shade her face from the sun. Now let's look at this piece. This hat is from the Wari culture of Peru in South America. It was made 1,400 years ago. How is this hat different from the Greek lady's hat? It's different in size, shape, materials, and purpose. This hat probably wouldn't be able to shade your face from the sun, but it lets us know that its owner was in the military and probably of high status. Fashion has often been a way for different cultures to show the different roles that people have in their societies. It's also made out of llama fur. Llamas have been domesticated in Peru for centuries. Pretty cool. Headdresses. How are headdresses different from hats? You do wear them on your head, it's in the name. Headdresses are usually only worn on special occasions, like a ceremony or a very special event. They're also usually much more elaborate and decorative than hats are. Let's take a look. This headdress may have belonged to an empress named Cixi, who ruled China 125 years ago. What do you notice about it? It's decorated with beaded flowers and a phoenix. A phoenix is a mythical bird that in China represents the power of the empress, whereas the power of the emperor would be represented by a dragon. This piece shows a goddess from the Remojadas culture, part of the larger Veracruz culture of Mexico. What's similar about her headdress to the headdress we just saw? Both of them have birds and flowers. In fact, it's believed that this goddess could possibly have been the inspiration for the later Aztec goddess, Xochiquetzal, whose name means flower bird. So far, we've seen a hat worn by a common lady, a hat worn by a military leader, a headdress worn by an empress, and a headdress worn by a goddess, all appearing pretty different. All of these cultures have different social structures, which can be glimpsed through their headwear and fashion. Speaking of social structures, let's talk about crowns. Crowns are usually made out of metal, but they're also usually only worn by royalty. Think like kings and queens and princesses. But that isn't always the case. Let's look at this crown. It is a Swedish wedding crown from the early 1700s, about 300 years ago. And while this crown looks like it's fit for a princess, it was common for many brides in Sweden, regardless of whether they were royalty or not, to wear a crown at their wedding. Now let's compare this crown from 300 years ago to another crown from 3,000 years ago. This crown is from the Phoenician culture, which started in the Middle East and spread throughout the Mediterranean. What is different about this crown versus the Swedish crown that we just saw? And what is similar? Both crowns are made out of metal, and both of them feature imagery from nature, like the flowers on the Phoenician crown and the leaves on the Swedish crown. But their shapes are entirely different. Finally, there are helmets. Helmets can also tell people what your job is, but most importantly, they're good for keeping your head safe. When was the last time you wore a helmet? let's look at some helmets from our collection. This helmet is from Turkey, and it's about 500 years old. It has a very special shape because it was made to sit on top of a turban, which is a special type of head covering common in many religions. The decoration, though, is specific to one religion. It is decorated with words from the Quran, which is the holy book for the Muslim faith. The idea is that this decoration would add a special extra layer of protection for the warrior when he went into battle. Now let's look at this helmet. Right away we can see some key differences, mostly in the shape, but also in the decoration. This helmet is a samurai helmet from Japan, and it was made about 100 years after the Turkish helmet was. Samurai were Japanese warriors, and this helmet would have been a precious family heirloom, passed down from generation to generation. The decoration in the middle of the helmet is a symbol of the family who originally owned it. So what have we learned today? We've learned about different things that you can wear on your head, and we've learned about how different cultures have used art and fashion to express themselves. What's your favorite piece of headwear, and how does it make you feel when you wear it? Now Emily is going to show us how we can make our own headdresses.
Hi everybody, Emily here. Before we start making our own hats, let's think back to the pieces that we saw earlier for inspiration. Hats can be many different shapes and sizes. What shape will yours be? They can also have different kinds of decorations and symbols. How will you decorate your hat? What symbols are special to you? Before you start, sketch some ideas for your hat on a piece of scrap paper so that you have a plan.
Here's a quick sketch I made of the hat I want to make today. The supplies that you'll need for this activity are different color pipe cleaners, clear packing tape, a plastic bag, scissors, stickers, paper, and a pencil with an eraser.
The first step to making our hat or helmet is to make sure that we have a good work area. Then you can ask an adult to help you make the base of your hat or helmet. You're going to take the plastic bag or a bandana and have an adult help you tie the plastic bag around the top part of your head. You can use the handles and scrunch it down like this and tie the handles together in the back. Same goes with the bandana. You just want to make sure it covers the top part of your head. This is going to act as a resist so the tape won't stick to our hair. Next, you're going to take your clear packing tape and you're going to cover the plastic bag with the tape. This is where it helps to have some scissors on hand. Once the entire thing is covered with tape, you can pop it off and see that you have the base of a hat. Then you can pop it back on and put 5 more layers so that you build up the thickness so that your base is really sturdy and strong. Now you can work on it off your head. You can work by taping around the edges, and you can even build off of it in different ways to make different shapes.
I added a little triangle piece here to match my sketch. Now that you have your base, you can use other materials to decorate your hat. Use the stickers, pipe cleaners, and more tape. You can also use thicker paper to make shapes to stick on your hat to give it some dimension.
Once you've finished decorating your hat, put it on and snap a photo and send it to familyprograms@thewalters.org to be featured in our online gallery. We would love to see your creation. Thanks for watching!